did. The 441 Marshall. Peace, love, and all that goodness. Let me get some shares real quick before we get started, y'all. Okay, let's do some more sharing before we get to hey, the bugs don't be playing. All right, we sent y'all. Show did with the 441 Marshall's, peace, love, and all that goodness. Eat the thumbs, eat the thumbs. I got my cup today, man. We out. I gotta drink this because the bugs and the flies don't even be playing. You sit this down for a second, they own it. But we're gonna tap into energy fields today, y'all. How about we do it like that? We're gonna tap into energy fields. And we talked about the energy fields yesterday, but we're gonna just kind of double back just a little bit. And we're gonna go through the beginning section of these chapters. We're in the subtle body. Sidney Dale, if you happen to have the book, page 90 in your textbook. Come on, let's tap in. Let's tap in. We got a good hour. I'm gonna be here with y'all for an hour, so enjoy the integration. I'm gonna do some reading straight out of the book, and then we'll build on whatever. So classically, a field is an area in which a force exerts an influence at every point. Like all energetic structures, a field involves a vibration of energy and can carry information. Now listen up. Fields operate on both physical and subtle planes, as do energy bodies and channels. But fields present mysterious phenomena. Albert Einstein believed that the universe is composed of interconnected force fields. Recent physicists have pinpointed some of these fields, calling them spherical standing waves, viewing them as constructs of finite reality held within a greater infinity. Because of fields, reality of both local or here and now and non-local, which means that everything is interconnected. Interconnection, y'all. Sure. Excuse me. Therefore, some physicists suggest that all possible events exist simultaneously as wave patterns that are either becoming real or disintegrated. In many ways, the future of healing and healing modalities that link allopathic methods and complementary practices lies in the area of fields, simply because they are both found inside and outside of the body. So what does that mean, y'all? That means that the ability of whatever we do on the inside is relatable on the outside. So that means that the things that you see out here in the world are reflections of you in some manner, some form, some space. Because if you look at animals, the animal kingdom, you will realize that animals hold a particular resonance or frequency. And the particular frequency or resonance is going to reflect that which of who you are. That's why you may see a particular animal on a regular basis, because that is a totem animal to who you are on the inside. You feel me? So these subtle bodies are very important. A field can be deciphered, altered, molded, and analyzed outside of the body to alter the energies inside of the body, and vice versa. We talked about this yesterday. So Newtonian physics tells us that fields send information, transferring and delivering data. like a mail carrier with letters. But that does the quantum, but what does quantum physics say? He or she will smile and suggest that in a field, information sometimes transfers more like instant messages over the internet, if not faster. Your note is being read before you even send it, because telepathy is a very real thing. Flies ain't even playing, boy. They is all over. That means somebody is sending some evil energy to me, y'all. Y'all keep me in y'all prayers. Keep positive energy all over me today, y'all, because you got some haters in my circle. The dynamics of fields is inviting a true change in medical practices, but also in our perspective of human beings. We are not isolated, closed circuits. We are interconnected, brilliant beams of energy. To truly understand this, it is important to grasp the nature of fields. To help accomplish this goal, this section will cover the basic types of fields: measurable and subtle fields, universal fields, natural and artificially created fields, and human fields. So that's what we're going to go over. And just look at this. This is basically what we're going to be getting into, some of the fields. All right, I'm done with the cup because the bugs is not going to let that live, bruh. So let's go over some energy terms. This was used, I guess, earlier in the textbook. So amplitude is the extreme range of fluctuating quality. Fields have various strengths or amplitudes, are weak or strong, basically. Frequency, number of vibrations per unit of time. Waves have frequency, and waves produce fields. So the frequency has a kind of a signal like this. And the frequency, it says the number of vibrations per unit of time. So whatever amount of time, how many times does it vibrate in that amount of time is what frequency is measuring. Oscillation, like a vibration, fields are generated by oscillating frequencies. Physical, that which is received with the physical body senses. Healers can often translate the psychic information carried by fields into physical knowledge or even tangible energy. Speed or velocity. Distance covered by a field or the information in it in relation to a unit of time. Some fields move at the speed of light and can therefore transfer information at that speed. Thanos lightning. Some physicists also suggest certain fields can transfer information faster than the speed of light, creating psychic information. This is light pulses. Okay, spin or rotation is a twirling or rotating movement. Fields can carry or be generated by spinning particles or waves that can create different forms. You got vibration. It's rhythmic motion back and forth across a position of equilibrium by the particles of a fluid or an elastic area when its equilibrium has been disturbed, as in transmission of sound. Sound fields vibrate differently than do electromagnetic fields. Different fields can carry information that runs at different vibrations. Vibration equals frequency plus amplitude. So this is the vertical fields. The vertical fields are measurable and consist of 7 main types of electromagnetic radiation, each of which varies in wavelength, frequency, and energy. Sound waves can also be considered a kind of vertical field. So let's check these out. You see those right there. You have on the very inside, it's called a or visible light. And then you have the ultraviolet light. Then you have, oh, these are on the top. So it's actually different depending on what the size is. So short wavelength, high frequency energy. So this is your higher frequency energy. Now long wavelength, lower frequency energy, which means that the vibration is a lot lower. So as you are lower on the field, you have radio waves, microwaves, and infrared waves. At the top you have visible light, which is the visible light spectrum, which is your rainbow. But above that you have ultraviolet light, you have X-ray, and then you have gamma ray. So this is important to realize the lower and upper wavelengths. The shorter wavelengths, they're smaller in circumference because they vibrate faster. And then just the exact opposite on these lower wavelengths. And then the color spectrum is your chakra system right here. So it would be the same format with your lower frequencies as you get higher into your Kundalini rising and you reach the sixth chakra, which is your ajna, your pineal gland. You're calculating a lot more energy and you're starting to captivate the ultraviolet light. So that's, in so many words, the God consciousness and the God frequency that we're working with. So each of us each of us is made up of both measurable and subtle fields that create and sustain life. Fields obvious to the sense interact with those hidden from the senses. All fields interact to create beneficial and harmful effects on living organisms. The primary difference between physical and subtle fields are often simply the speed of the information and vibration involved. At some level, they can actually be perceived at the same field, one flowing into another, one creating and sustaining another. Within the division of material and subtle energy lies yet another subdivision, that of form versus thought. Certain fields are managed by pure form, others by thought and the physical heart. To make use of these fields for health and wellness, it is vital to distinguish these functions. So, the next chapter is called A Primer on Energy Fields. And it looks like it's going to explain to us the basics of these energy fields. So let's read this chapter and see where it takes us, because some very good information in these books. There are many different kinds of fields. In energy medicine, these are formally known by the two terms: vertical, which can be measured, and putative and subtle, which cannot be measured. The vertical or measurable energy fields are physical in nature and include sound and electromagnetic forces. Such a visible light, magnetism, monochromatic radiation, and rays from the electromagnetic spectrum. Our body produces or is affected by all of these energies. Punitive energy fields are also called biofields and subtle fields. Both of the latter terms will be used in this section. These fields explain the presence of vital life energy, such as the chi or prana of the Oriental and Hindu cultures. These original fields are not separate from the mechanical or measurable fields. Rather, they occupy space and run at frequencies that cannot be perceived except through their effects. They are connected into the body by the meridians, the nadis, and the chakras, which are able to convert the fast-moving frequencies, chi and prana. The chi is within, the prana comes from without. into the slower and the mechanical fields and forces, electricity, magnetism, and sound, amongst others. The energy channels and bodies are therefore antennae that receive and send information via the fields and transform this information so it can be used by the body. The human body is affected by and creates both types of energy fields. The heart, for instance, serves as the human electrical center. Its electrical activity shapes the format of the biofields that surround the body because it emits thousands of times more electricity and magnetism that do of the other organs in the body. And yesterday we talked about the organs and how they're a symphony to your avatar. They create a specific resonance and they respond to the resonance of the earth. But human and personal biofields also interconnect with greater fields that work in two directions. They receive and draw energy from us and also provide energy to us because we are actually composed of fields, as is the world. We have to see ourselves as interconnected rather than self-sustaining, constantly involved in the flux of becoming something new, even as we shape and reshape the world. So everything is interchanging, everything is alive, everything that you see has a resonance that can intrude or protrude onto your resonance on a negative or positive fashion, depending on the frequency that it is inducing upon your aura. So it is important to have more control over your aura than other people do. So following our illustrations and depictions of the major vertebral and putative fields, the vertebral fields, the chief field that generates and perpetuates life is the electromagnetic spectrum. The other life-sustaining category is sound fields, also called sound or sonic waves. Let us examine these fields in relation to the illustration of energy fields. Each part of the electromagnetic spectrum manifests as radiation that vibrates at a specific rate and therefore is called electromagnetic radiation. Our body requires a specific amount of each part of this spectrum for optimal physical, emotional, and mental health. We can become ill or imbalanced if exposed to too much or too little of any particular stratum from the spectrum. So this diagram just shows the subtle bodies, which is a little different than what we was looking at. These are, quote unquote, can be hundreds of different subtle bodies that exist around your being at any moment. And depending on the strength of your frequency, it would depend on if you have an aura leak or not. So this is mainly why we're talking about aura awareness, because the subtle body is not able to measure on a scientific frequency what's going on. But when we observe the cause and effect of what's happening to us on an etheric basis, this is a simple theory for most of us, but the unseen is what controls the 3D, the 5D, and above. But if you're able to reach 5D consciousness, you're able to maneuver in a manner of optimization, if you will. The optimization is going to create this aura to be a solid foundation of protection, and this aura will not have leaks in it, and you will not be subject or subjugated to people who, or things who, or items or scenarios who dim your light. Dim your light is what we're trying to say. But you follow what I'm saying? So let's read this little discussion in blue. The basics of fields. Remember the discussion of how atoms work in part 1. We didn't read that yet, but we're gonna read that soon. All matter, including the human cell, is created from atoms. Atoms are composed of protons and neutrons, which create the weight within an atom, electrons, which carry charge, and positrons. What the hell is that? And positrons, which represent the anti-electrons and link the atom with its anti-self. Each of these atomic units carries information and is constantly moving and vibrating and is therefore energized. The electrons move the most, usually in orbit around the cell's nucleus and the home of the proton and neutron. But electrons can also spin out and travel out of orbit. The tension between the electron and the rest of its world generates electricity. Moving charges or currents then create magnetic fields. The combination of electrical and magnetic energies is an electromagnetic field. Each of these atomic units moves at its own speed, and when combined with other units creates a certain oscillation or vibration for the atom, which is a field. Motion produces pressure, and this creates waves. However, there are many waves or fields given off by a single atom, and the nature of these constantly changes as the atom is continually moving. Waves also created sound. Variations in pressure change the nature of sound waves and therefore the pitch. Ooh. Waves also created sound. Variation in pressure changes the nature of the sound wave and therefore the pitch. Though items tend to vibrate in a similar range, invading or greater waves can throw them off, changing their function and sound. In general, it is important to remember that every atom is unique, that atoms combine to form unique systems such as lymph or blood fluids, and that they therefore produce unique waves structures. Waves produce fields which moves in a non-ending flow in all directions. If you can work with the fields generated by a group of atoms, you can determine the health or needs of those atomic structures, thus promoting healing. The various parts of electromagnetic fields and sound waves are always present. Therefore, these fields are easiest to work with. So let's read on the rest of this chapter. I got another 2 pages, and we're reading about these electromagnetic frequencies that exist in these fields. Electromagnetic radiation is described as a stream of photons, wave particles that are the basis of light. These are massless particles that travel at the speed of light. Each contains a bundle of energy and therefore information. The only difference between the types of electromagnetic radiation is the amount of energy found in the protons. As figure 3.1, see page 93, shows, radio waves have photons with the lowest measurable. Ooh, that run got me out of whack, yo. I'm tired now. The only difference between the types of electromagnetic or is the reading. Might be reading. The only difference between the types of electromagnetic radiation is the amount of energy found in the protons. Radio waves have photons with the lowest measurable energies, while gamma rays have the most energy. It is important to understand this flow of photons because photons actually compose the physical body, as demonstrated by the research of scientists including Fritz Albert Pope. Photons also create a gigantic field depicted as a field of light. In this figure, which unifies all creation, this field is described next in chapter 19, two unified field theories. Where's the picture at? It must be this one. So this must be the picture we was looking at with all the fields. Yeah, morphic fields, auric fields, L fields, T fields, universal light. This was the picture we just looked at earlier. Yeah. Do we need to read that? I guess so. Yep. The basic premise of physical electromagnetism is this. Electricity generates magnetism. We will explore electromagnetism in its many forms throughout this section. But most classical understandings depend on the fact that when electricity or charged electrons flow in a current, they create a magnetic field. These forces together comprise electromagnetism. However, according to Faraday's law, a changing magnetic field can create an electric field. Magnetism can also operate in its own unique way. Sound waves, also considered mechanical waves, they are as important set of waves that both affect us as human beings and emanate from us. They are defined as disturbances that transports energy through a medium via the mechanism of particle interaction, which means the sound waves are generated by some sort of interaction. They cannot move unless they are moved. Sound waves run as specific vibrations and penetrate all existence. Our own hearts create sound, as do the planets of the sky. We can hear some of these sounds and not others, but that does not mean that the inaudible sounds do not affect us. These and other mechanical waves affect us either positively or negatively. So the putative and subtle human energy fields. There are many types of subtle energy fields. Following is a brief overview of few of them. The description relates to the figure in 3.2. It is important to know that these fields, while seemingly surrounding the human body, also interpenetrate it. Fields do not stop at the skin. They are energies that have through mediums, including the skin and bodily tissue. In all likelihood, subtle but fields determine the nature and health of their physically verifiable cousins, as is reflected by the research note throughout this section and the rest of the book. As science keeps confirming, because illness and healing can be detected in the subtle field before there's a physical response, they therefore have at least some morphological or initiating effects on the body. Know also that there is no way this book can list all the subtle fields because they have not all been discovered. Every cell in the body and every thought generates a field. Every energy body, meridian, and chakra pulses its own field. In total, the field emanating from your body alone would occupy more space or anti-space than your physical self. In many ways, you are your fields. Each of the following subtle human energy fields will be discussed in length later. So, the human energy field, the morphological field, the geos field, the universal light field, L fields, and the T fields. So that's a primer on energy fields, and that's just the basis of what energy fields are and what they do. We're kind of going backwards because yesterday we talked about the energy fields already. So we're going to continue on this week throughout this book, and we're going to identify energy fields. We're going to discover how to communicate through these energy fields. We're going to discover how to clear the energy of these energy fields, and we're going to find balance within the aura, because in order for us to reach a conscious level of Christ, we're going to need a lot more balance in the way we think and see things. And an approval for yourself will be all you need. You go within, you learn the balance of yourself, and that's a ma'at. Learn the balance of yourself, and that's a ma'at. That's a heart light as a feather. That is a nothing holds you back energy. So grief, disdain, feeling guilty, being stuck, feeling stuck, all these different things inside of your chakra systems need balancing. So this book is necessary for healers, y'all. If you're on a journey to heal, get this book by Cindy Dale, The Subtle Body. We're going to continue with this book all week, maybe even for 2 or 3 weeks. It's a very in-depth, detailed book. It talks about the interconnectedness of mental self, physical self, and spiritual self, and that entire being interconnected to other beings, which are universes. And those universes are connected to this universe, so we're all connected into one big, huge, multiverse. And you're going to look and see reflections of yourself or others everywhere you go. And it's important for you to realize this and honor it, because Spirit wants you to learn who you are. And if you're just stuck on the way a person does something and you're not realizing that this may be a personal energy within yourself that may need to be balanced, then you may be looking at judgment, and then you'll be judging the person based on what they do, not even knowing that that's a reflection for you to correlate or correct. Follow what I'm saying? So y'all catch this on the playback. Put the full playback on my YouTube, YSI99, and then I'll put some clips up on TikTok so that we can keep this energy and we can have a building resonance and like a daily catalog of what we went over at what time and what year and what was going on. We can check and see what's going on in the stars and see what was in alignment for, my speech or my presentation or our conversations that we have, because there's always a message within. God's not always going to show up in a book like this. Now, thank God Sydney Dale had God within her, and she felt like she wanted to share this perspective and organize a lot of these things, a lot of these different practices, ascension practices, and put them in a book that helps you benefit in a healthy manner. So that's what we're working and seeking through these spiritual crow calls on the weekly, daily. And we're going to continue to build awareness. So this old world matrix is tearing down and the restructure is here. and you're noticing and seeing a lot of differences happen amongst the Great Divide. The Great Divide is creating unity. So on one side is unity, other side is unity, but amongst those divisions, God is not allowing the lower level energies to maintain control and maintain a space of awareness. As a matter of fact, in these times, a lot of those individuals are lost. Their intuition is taken away from them by spirit, and they have been abandoned. And now they're going to be held captive to whatever karmic relation that they are going to be stuck in. So I don't want none of our people to be stuck in karmic loops. We need to Thanos snap you out of there. And we'll be the Avengers, but we'll be the Thanos team version. You know what I mean? The Guardians of the Galaxy on the real side. So y'all be cool. Peace and love. I'm out.